Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tournament Center here at Pro Tour Shadows over Innistrad in Madrid, Spain. I'm Brian David Marshall. I am joined by R&D member Ian Duke, and we are going to watch World Magic Cup champion Martin Muller, Pro Tour top 8 competitor Martin Muller, draft Shadows over Innistrad. Take a look at this table, Ian Duke. This is a tough table to wake up to.
Yeah.
First thing,
quite a few heavy
first thing at the
here.
Pro Tour.
Yeah, no kidding.
Shahar Shenhar, a world champion. Reed Duke, multiple time Pro Tour top 8 competitor. Valentin Mackel, Ryuichi Tamada. Jason Myatt, Donald Smith, and Felix Rodriguez have to be looking at this table and going, giving the little Simpsons tug on the collar there.
But hey, if you want to win the Pro Tour, you got to battle through tables like this, right?
Absolutely. And one of the things Marshall and Randy covered Reed Duke's draft, they talked a lot about the idea of drafting a deck and finding a way into, not just drafting the best card necessarily, but really drafting the best card for your deck and finding a strategy. Let's see what Martin Muller can do here.
Absolutely.
So there you see the pack, all the sleeved cards. No one's going to get to any extra information in this draft from double-faced cards. And there is Martin Muller. You see a Handwear Militia Captain and Just the Wind shuffled up towards the front. It looks like a Pious Evangel is the another double-faced
Yeah, I saw
card.
an Incorrigible Youths in there. These are all good cards. I think Handwear Militia Captain just takes the cake here. Just a great rare card. A Grizzly Bear is its floor there, and it's pretty easy to transform. Becomes a star creature that makes more tokens.
Just the Wind is shuffled up pretty high in there.
Yeah.
I like Ongoing Investigation. Not a card I necessarily want to first pick, but a card I love in this format.
Just the Wind is a card that I've heard teams talking about that they value really highly, even though it looks a little bit innocuous. But sure enough.
It was the double-faced Handwear Militia Captain. So if you have 4 more creatures in play, you can transform it, and then it starts spitting out additional creatures.
Absolutely.
So where do you want to go from here? You open up a card like that.
Well, it is a human, so it fits great into, say, white-green aggressive deck that uses humans and equipment, plays lots of creatures. That's probably the ideal place to go, I think, from here, but we'll see where it takes us.
All right, let's see what gets shuffled there. You see a Mad Prophet, a Stormrider Spirit, a Throttle comes up close to the front. See an Inspiring Captain back there if you want to, sort of play on that human theme. And he does shuffle that towards the front. Rancid Rat's interesting.
Yeah,
another Throttle,
solid commons in this pack. I do think Mad Prophet is the strongest of these, though. He does go ahead and take it. Mad Prophet, a card we saw first in Avacyn Restored. It was solid there, but not spectacular. But with the advent of Madness, Delirium, all these new mechanics in Shadows over Innistrad, it really gets a boost.
A hasty looter.
Yes.
So you can always play it and get an activation off it at the very least. There's a Deadweight. There's Pyrehound, a Thraben Inspector. There's an Erdwall Illuminator. I know that's a card that Martin thinks highly of. There's Heir of Falkenrath. Wow.
Oh, wow. A lot of powerful black cards in this pack. Heir of Falkenrath is super awesome. A great Madness outlet. Deadweight, a great removal spell. Looks like he has the Erdwall Illuminator pulled to the front, though. That's a little surprising to me. I mean, I think the card's great, but it is a little bit of a build around there. Do you think that maybe Martin and his team came to evaluate this card higher than others?
I think that, they when their process, they had a lot of tiers of cards, and that to him, based on what their process is, he thought that was a better card than those other cards he had in the front. So, we're going to see him prioritize cards with Investigate here.
Mm-hmm.
You see a Shard of Broken Glass, a Niblis of Dusk. There's a Gone Missing that has Investigate on it.
So Niblis of Dusk, just a great blue common. You're happy to have it in any blue deck. Interesting to me that he pulls that to the front so quickly. Almost disregarding that, the white first pick that he had here. He hasn't seen a lot of white since then. So he may be taking that Erdwall Illuminator as a signal and moving into blue, which is really interesting.
And what is next for Martin Muller? So there is...
Is that a Rush of Adrenaline?
That was a Rush of Adrenaline.
Okay, that's interesting. I wonder if he's actually considering that.
Well, that's a card that did very well for his team this weekend at the Grand Prix. Was in the deck that he does take the Rush of Adrenaline.
Wow, he does go ahead and pick it. That's a little bit of a surprise to me. That was not a card that we valued super highly internally in R&D. Usually I like my combat tricks to sort of ensure that my creature is going to win combat, only granting 1 toughness.
But with so many low to the ground, like tight packed of two power creatures for 2 mana on turn 3. That card's great. Lets you play another 2 drop.
Yeah, really showing a priority toward aggression. So on to the next pack here.
Compelling Deterrence up towards the front of the pack. And Asylum Visitor. He's thinking about black.
Yeah, Compelling Deterrence is a really nice card if you can pick up some zombies. It's the zombie recoil, as we call it, right?
Jace's Scrutiny, card I really like also, but he does take the Compelling Deterrence.
Yeah, I think cards like Jace's Scrutiny you're maybe hoping to pick up a little bit later in the pack, although Investigating does combo well with the Erdwall Illuminator that he has already.
So there's a Gone Missing up front. What was that other blue card back there? Silent Observer.
Silent Observer is a card I like a lot if you're going to be a slower, more controlling blue deck. It blocks everything. It's like a free Icy Manipulator almost, right? Is the way to think of it. But Gone Missing is also a good card. I'm always happy to play my first Gone Missing, and if I'm in a slower deck that values clues, I like that quite a bit.
Gone Missing and Rush of Adrenaline feel like cards on very opposite ends of the spectrum.
We're going to have to make a choice at some point.
Yes, they are both spells. There's another Gone Missing, so the scale is tipping.
Yep. And that looks like it's going to be the pick here, given what we have so far. Aren't too many other options. Blue, clearly going to be one of the colors here for Martin. He's got some red cards, but
he also has some white. He has that one white card.
He has the Militia Captain.
I don't think he wants to do that at this point. I think
perhaps
white
keeping his
sailed.
options open, seeing what he gets next pack or later on in this pack.
There's a Howlpack Wolf, just a solid 3/3 for 3.
Yeah, and that's fairly late to see this, so he may take that as a little bit of a signal toward red.
Also a late Watcher in the Web. If you're looking to be like a blue X spells deck where you're looking to sort of turtle up and get play investigate and do a lot of things, that card can often be a time walk. There's a Stormrider Spirit.
Yeah, Stormrider Spirit's a great pickup here.
Very late.
Yeah, it's late to see that here. And that card, we've seen that similar cards in past limited formats. I think it's especially good in this format because of the presence of clues. You can sort of keep your mana open and have lots of options.
All right, there's a Silberlin Snapper, a Dire Swine.
Goes with the Dire Swine. It's a card that's very good in green-blue if you're kind of turtling up on the ground and just need big creatures to win with.
You think he's green-blue or red-blue at this point?
I think he's leaning toward red-blue, although in that pack where he took the Kessig Dire Swine, he did pass a Pieces of the Puzzle, which is a somewhat controversial card, but a card that you might use in a red-blue spells deck.
I always get so excited when I see Harness the Storm because I think it's a Geist Blast. Right? It's got that same device.
Similar art, sure.
All right.
So, yeah, it looks like, Martin's squarely in blue here, but keeping his options open a little bit in terms of options in green, options in white, options in red.
Not a ton of creatures.
Yeah, it's often how these blue decks shape up. I mean, there are a lot of spell-based synergies in blue. So if you're in red-blue, for example, you can sometimes play with very few creatures in your deck, really keying off of casting lots of instants and sorceries.
I have heard rumors of Rise of the Tides 5-creature decks.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So there you see him sort of laying it out by curve.
So if I were Martin here, I'd be hoping to go into red-blue, either a tempo-based deck with some aggression and flyers, or more of a spell-based deck with the spell synergy cards.
Right. But I mean, again, something like Niblis of Dusk is a card that even though you start to think of that as an aggressive deck, it really plays well with spells.
That's a card that does double duty.
Pyrehound's another card that can often go into that deck. All right, pack 2, going in the other direction. That rubbing his hands together, just like, come on, let me look at the pack, please.
Yep. Let's see what we got.
There's a Stitchwing Scab. That went right to the front. Ravenous Bloodseeker.
Yeah, Stitchwing Scab, just a fantastic
Sanguinary
card.
Mage is a card, I know these guys like a lot. 2-drop.
Yeah, it's a card I'm happy to
important.
play in this deck. Not a card I'm happy to first pick necessarily, but Stitchwing Scab, I am comfortable first picking there. A 3-power flyer for 4 mana. It does all sorts of things. It can be, aggressive flyer. It's a madness outlet. You can mill yourself into it and then recur it and start going from there. So just kind of a solid card all around, but with a lot of synergy in a deck like this.
There you go. It is Stitchwing Scab. And by the way, it also makes his Compelling Deterrence a little better.
That's true, because
it is a zombie.
That's right.
So now he has something to turn on the recoil mode of Compelling Deterrence. For those of you who are too young to have played with recoil, I'm sorry.
It was a great card.
It's a great card.
Definitely a beloved casual card and awesome in draft for sure.
All right, so there's another Sanguinary Mage. Looks like a Jason Scrutiny in the front. Wow, there's some good white cards here.
Yeah, a lot
Drown
of
Yard Explorers.
cards he'd be happy to play. Nothing he's super excited
I think
to
he's
second
taking the
pick.
Sanguinary Mage here for sure.
Yeah.
Abyssinian Missionaries going around late.
So yeah, Sanguinary Mage, just a card you're happy to play in this deck. It's a 2-drop, which the deck is often lacking. You can get extra values out of your spells. It's a good blocker.
I think Martin's expecting to get a card back out of this pack. Whether
Yeah,
it's a
probably
Jason
something like a Jason Scrutiny.
Or a Nagging Thoughts or something.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. But given how hard he cut blue in the first pack, I wouldn't be surprised to see him get something pretty nice, maybe 3rd, 4th, 5th pick here in blue.
There's another Howlpack Wolf.
Storm Rider Spirit as well.
Another gone missing, although I don't think he wants
Number 3.
Number 3.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I like the Storm Rider Spirit here. It depends on his curve, though. He might feel the Howlpack Wolf is a better fit for his curve. But I'd say one of those 2 cards is most likely to pick.
He's got that. He's like, okay, I've got this many 3s. I got this. Okay.
Does go with the Storm Rider Spirit, yeah. Just a better fit for a blue deck with lots of spells,
Right.
being able to go over the top late game. Howlpack Wolf is at its best when you're super aggressive and low to the ground, so.
And I think he's really also, like you said, counting. Oh, wow, look at
Ooh,
this.
okay.
A thing in the ice.
That's pretty exciting.
They do tend to float.
Yeah. Good. See what you did there. But yeah, I mean, Thing in the Ice, it actually does tend to float sometimes because it is a card you have to build around quite a bit. It's not great in any blue deck. In a lot of decks, it's just sort of a 0-4 wall. But the way that Martin's
But he's
deck is
also
shaping
looking
up,
at Uncaged Fury here. But
Yeah.
okay, he is going to take the
going for
thing in the ice. Yeah.
I think you have to here. I mean, if this is exactly the archetype that card is built for, right? Blue-red, lots of spells,
Absolutely.
looters, card flow. And it's a super powerful card when you can use it. So
Drown Yard
great for him.
Explorers, Just the Wind, another compelling deterrence.
Okay. So I'm actually curious to see, I think Just the Wind or Compelling Deterrence is going to be the pick here. Depends on the level of synergies in this deck and where he thinks it's going.
I like Just the Wind just because of the madness ability to sort of activate your Mad Prophet and essentially get 2 cards off that activation.
Right. Just the Wind, it's a card that's especially good with looters, right, where you cannot go down in cards. Anytime you can get a tempo advantage without going down in cards is super awesome for you.
There's a Drown Yard Explorers. There's a Nebulous of Dusk. So blue is he's definitely in a great seat for blue here. I mean, the thing in the ice just had to tell him, yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So I imagine we'll see him pick the Nebulous of Dusk, although he would be perfectly happy to get Drown Yard Explorers here.
Yeah.
That's a card that's great in a deck like his. Shores up the ground, it investigates, gives you some card flow, works with the Erdwall Illuminator. So yeah, you'd be looking to maybe pick one of those up later in this pack or next pack.
Yeah, Nebulous is just in a weird space in this deck. Like I said, I mean, it obviously benefits from the spells. It gives you a way to... Is that a Rise from the Tides?
Okay.
And a Tormenting Voice. He's got a Wicker Witch near the front, too. he's like, I don't want to be the Rise from the Tides deck. You could almost feel it. He's like, maybe I could can I justify a Wicker Witch to my teammates? No, I can't.
Yeah, he goes for it. It was a little bit of a controversial card early in the format's history. I mean, people saw this card and they're like, this looks so sweet, but I'm a little skeptical. Can I actually do this?
It was a controversial card in the Eureka house.
Yeah. But I have seen decks that can do it. So
there's a Malevolent Whispers pushed up towards the front. Another Rush of Adrenaline. Trail of Evidence, which is kind of a sweet card, but maybe too many hoops to jump through for his deck.
Yeah, I think so.
And he took the Malevolent Whispers.
He did, yep.
So sort of a threaten, but if you can madness it out, it becomes Ray of Command. Lamplighter of Selhoff.
Yeah. He may pick it here. I sort of doubt it ends up making the final cut just because he has, I think, 2 Storm Rider Spirits. Oh, goes for the Watcher in the Web.
Folks, that was an actual hate draft.
Yeah. hate draft the Watcher in the Web.
He's like, I do not want you to block all of my Nebulous of Dusks with one stupid green flyer. So look, both the Jason Scrutiny and the Nagging Thoughts came back.
Yep.
Takes the Jason Scrutiny.
Yeah,
a card Sam Black called Annihilate last week.
That seems like a little bit of a stretch, but, giving it credit for being better than one might think it is, I think is totally fair.
I love both drafting and hyperbole, Ian Duke.
Would you say they're your favorite things in the world?
Absolutely most favorite things ever. So we're rounding down the pack here. Is he going to take a Seagraph Scav?
Another
Are we going to see
Watcher.
another? He's like, no Watchers, no webs
Yeah,
for
I mean,
anybody.
we're kind of joking about it, but it is a card that's excellent against his deck. He does not want to face that.
Is he going to go 3 for 4 in his
Yeah.
last 4 picks on Watcher and the
Can he
webs?
collect 8 of them, maybe?
That's like 64 blocked creatures.
Wow. I have seen games won through attacking with more than 8 creatures past the Watcher in the web, though, which is pretty awesome.
Wow. So pack 2 was really really interesting here for Martin because he went full on into the red-blue spells deck here.
Right.
He could have been like this flyery tempo deck, but I think, you know, this has really just pushed him.
And what's particularly important to BDM is that he got a lot of the higher rarity rewards.
Right.
Like often the red-blue spells deck, playing very few creatures, is not something you can do purely based off of commons. But if you start to get uncommons and rares like Rise from the Tides and Thing in the Ice, those are the sort of centerpieces of the deck that really hold it together.
Erdwall Illuminator is a card that can also be terrific in this deck, helping you dig to those spells, dig to those bombs.
Very true. Making sure you're not going down on card advantage by playing bounce spells and things like that.
One of the cards I love in this deck is Geist Blast.
Yeah.
You know, that is a lower rarity card that can be very high impact in
Definitely
this
true.
deck. Have you ever you played a Geist Blast out of the graveyard to fork a Malevolent Whispers?
Haven't done that. I have heard tales of Geist Blasts copying Rise from the Tides.
Well, that's my dream. I haven't done that yet.
That is the dream, yeah.
So there we see a Breakneck Rider, a Reduced to Ashes, a Tormenting Voice.
Was there Rattle Chains in there as well?
I saw a blue card. Yes, Rattle Chains.
Okay,
correct.
that's a solid card.
That card's great.
Yeah. Geist
But
Blast.
again, it's that weird fence straddling that his deck's doing between being this kind of like aggressive flyer deck and being a spell deck. I like the Geist Blast here a lot.
I like Geist Blast. I think Rattle Chains is also great. I don't think Breakneck Rider is the pick, in large part because it is double red and really needs to come out on curve to be at its best.
It looks like it is going to be Rattle
tough choice.
Chains.
There's also the chance that, well, no, it's probably very unlikely that Geist Blast wheels because just the red side of that is good enough to play in a lot of decks.
It's just the front side is just great, right?
Yeah,
like
it's sometimes deceptive. It looks like a red-blue card that you could only play in a red and blue deck, but that's just not true.
There's a lot of cards like that in that slot. You know, Ongoing Investigation being another example. You don't need to be green to play that. There's another Mad Prophet.
That seems like a great pickup, but let's see what else is in the pack.
Lots of Tormenting Voices that he keeps looking at, but they're not coming back around. He's not getting a second look at those Tormenting Voices.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because it's a card you don't want to pick super high, but you do want to have in your deck. So you'd love to see one come around 9th or 10th pick, but hasn't been the case so far. But yeah, looking at this pack, it looks like Mad Prophet is the clear pick.
Press for answers. You see another trail of evidence floating back there. Yep, Mad Prophet number 2. I actually didn't even remember Mad Prophet being a reprint.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I must have not played with it. I remember it now that you say
a little
it.
bit in Avacyn Restored. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't great. And it actually was promoted from common to uncommon in this set because of how powerful it is with Madness.
So Startled Awake, that's a nice spell there.
Yeah, I would even go so far as to call it a bomb. I mean, even just milling 13 cards one time can win you a lot of games in this format.
Well, especially when you look at Martin's deck, which has the ability to sort of bounce things, put that on top, block with this. Well, if I guess he's not going to play green. He's playing red, but yeah, there's also a Stitch Mangler in the pack, which a lot of people consider to be the best blue common right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great.
But he does take the Startled Awake.
Right. Yeah, just clearly a higher power level than anything else in the pack there, and it's I think a good fit for his deck as well. Wants to be slower, more controlling.
What was that? There you see a Pyre Hound, another lower rarity card that really pays you off for being in this deck.
I like Pyre Hound quite a bit. It looks like it's a good fit for his deck. I do see him eyeing the Tormenting Voice, which, as you said before, is a card you do want to have in this deck.
Furtive Homunculus. I couldn't see what it was because it kept flitting.
Right. It's very
he did
sneaky.
take the Pyre Hound though.
Yeah,
and that's a card that can just own the ground for him.
Right.
He just a couple turns of spells, and that thing is going to be very hard for any deck to get through.
Tormenting Voice and Reduced to Ashes, both good choices here. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Reduced to Ashes be the pick here. He's a little bit light on permanent removal for things.
and really problem permanent removal, right?
Yeah.
Like there's some, like I want to deal with something that is a great card.
It's not the most efficient or flexible removal spell in the world, being a 5-mana sorcery, but it is a good fit for his deck. It triggers his spell synergies. It shores up sort of a hole in his deck, and that he doesn't have permanent answers to big creatures.
It's funny, we saw white cards get open in both of our featured drafters, Drogcell Cavalry by Reduke and the Henweir Militia Captain and now I wonder how much white is at the table, because we just saw Drogcell Cavalry go around the table here, just go by. So Uncaged Fury, Stormrider Spirit. Uncaged Fury, another card that went up in value a lot for people after the win by Fabrizio Anteri.
At the Grand Prix, that's right. Yeah, it was an explosive final turn of the game, attacking for, I don't know, a billion damage.
It was actually.
Since we're on the topic of hyperbole. But yeah, a good card. I don't know that it's a great fit for his deck, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it not make the cut, but it's a good consideration.
There's a Silent Observer.
Yeah.
And another Stormrider Spirit, but I think he's going to take the Silent Observer here and maybe sort of dial his deck more towards the controlling side, since he has so much inevitability in this deck.
I think Silent Observer is a great fit for his deck. He's got multiple Nibblises of Dusk at 3 mana and multiple
Stormrider
Spirits, at 5. So this just kind of fills in his curve and gives him a nice defensive option to hold down the ground.
That's another Silent Observer.
Yep. Great pickup.
I think that there's a world where you could see him even maybe go away from the Nibblice of Dusk.
It's possible.
I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think he has enough to do it.
It depends on how hard he wants to lean on Thing in the Ice and Rise from the Tides. Yep. But yeah, it is possible. And it looks like he's picked up plenty of playables.
Geist Blast, mate.
Wow.
That's the Geist Blast he opened, right?
Yeah, it was the one that we were talking about how it wasn't going to wheel, unfortunately, but then it did. So that's just a great thing for him.
That is sweet.
This deck's looking pretty exciting.
So again, that gives him a removal spell up front, and then on the backside for blue and 2, you can use it to fork an instant or sorcery by paying for that cost out of your graveyard. And there's a late Tormenting Voice.
Yeah, it's actually a great combo with Tormenting Voice, because you pay the additional cost of discarding a card when you cast the original one, but when you copy it, you just get to draw 2 cards without discarding another one. So really nice combo there, and Tormenting Voice, a card you want in this deck anyway.
Stoic Builder, this is just, now we're just like sort of mopping up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've discarded Geist Blast to Lightning Axe, and then paid the blue and 2 to copy Lightning Axe.
Oh, that's awesome, because it's already in your graveyard while the Lightning Axe is on the stack.
There's enough. Now the Tormenting Voices are flowing.
Yeah.
You know.
I guess the rest of the table.
Once you hear them, you can't unhear them.
So this has been a really cool draft to watch. This is getting me excited to see his games play out.
I'm really curious to see how Martin builds this deck. Whether he sort of, because again, he's got those very aggressive Nibblice of Dusks, but I feel like his deck wants to really turtle up behind those Silent Observers and the Pyre Hound.
I think the Nibblices are probably going to make the cut, but we'll see. Yeah,
I mean, they certainly are going to be very big. He has a lot of spells to cast before he flies over. So, so there you have it. World Magic Cup champion Martin Muller, blue-red spells.
Looks awesome.
I can't wait to see it in action.